Hey everybody. So as most of you know, I do not really like making reels where I'm talking like this. Doesn't seem to work out in my favor. So I always just prefer to go live like this and then create it as a reel. So I wanted to jump on here really quick and just discuss briefly all the other benefits of developing mediumship. Because I don't think it's something that is talked about that often, and I think it's something that's important to just put out there. And I also have a class coming up, so I wanted to just have this information available to people that were maybe curious about these things. So I'm just going to get right to it. So basically, when it comes to mediumship, right, there is so much more beyond, okay, I'm going to train to be a medium, I'm going to then go be a professional evidential medium, and that is it. It's just not true. There's so many other facets of this work and of how this work can express itself in your own life and in its own unique way that works for you. So I don't want people to think that that's the only reason you have to be taking a class like this, right? Or to just study mediumship in general, right? There's so many other reasons and things that it does for us. So I'm going to kind of go over that. First off, the other thing is that mediumship is natural, okay? It's not a gift. It's something that we all have access to as human beings because this is a soul-to-soul connection. It's natural, right? So I think that's another thing is because people will think, oh, well, I can't do that because that's a gift, right? Not true. Not true, and I would challenge that, right? I would always say give it a try because I guarantee you'll surprise yourself, right? And that's true also for just psychic ability as well, right? Everybody has access to intuition. To me, that is a natural part of being a human being. So I wouldn't ever say this is not accessible to all people to some capacity, right? So that's the first thing that I just kind of want to establish here. The second thing that I would say is that mediumship, first off, there's so many types of mediumship, right? And I think, unfortunately, especially in America, that's not really shown in a big way. I think for the most part, other forms of mediumship are more celebrated, more common in the UK. But on American television especially, or, the more well-known mediums, a lot of it is what we call mental mediumship. And I would say that's pretty much it, to be honest. I really don't see much else as far as other forms of mediumship. And this is what I mean when I say that. I'm talking about trance and physical. There's also art, so spirit portraiture, which is something that I've been working on myself. There's so many types. There are so many types, and there's so many mixtures and overlaps and so much variety that actually can come out of working as a medium that, again, I don't think people necessarily realize. And it's so cool. And I think it's something that should be celebrated and explored and offered to the public, especially people that maybe are curious about this or maybe think like this, oh, I don't know if, working as a standard medium would really work for me, right? I'm not that social or, whatever your reason may be. Maybe you just want to put that into art. Maybe it's something that you want to do in a more indirect way or a way like in trance where you're not necessarily fully like having a conversation with someone in a lighter state mentally, right? There's a lot of variety there. So just because you don't think that you are somebody that would be open to, working with people one-on-one or even in a platform situation, or, just in that kind of capacity, just know that there are so many other options you can explore when it comes to this work in that way. Okay? So that's another thing that I wanted to just point out. And the other thing is that you also don't have to work as any kind of medium to utilize your training. Because to me, mediumship should be in kind of all the little like nooks and crannies of the world, right? Especially because to me, and I have done other lives about this, some people that have had, horrendous loss in their life, and I would say, have lost that really kind of changed the course of their entire life, right? Would never go to a medium for whatever reason, right? And so to me, when we bring an awareness of mediumship into our everyday life, so a corporate job or whatever it may be that we do outside of that, there's some magic in that, because we get to kind of indirectly even potentially impact these people that would never ever think to access something like that in a more standard format. And I don't even mean, and I'm not saying like going up to strangers and giving them readings. That's not what I'm saying. This is kind of more of an example. Hi. More of what I'm saying is, when we have an awareness of mediumship and just that kind of connection, we are able to just sense certain things, be aware of certain things with the people around us, right? Hi. And to me, you may be inspired to get a friend a particular type of flower. And you trust it because from learning this, you trust your intuition. You trust the nudges that you receive. And let's say you find out that the person you gave these flowers to, these are the flowers connected to a past loved one of theirs, and it means the world to them. So you end up being kind of, indirectly a part of spirit getting through to people in this way that's like kind of under the radar, right? Even maybe when you're giving a friend advice, and let's say you just start talking in maybe kind of a different way than you usually would. And the person's saying, wow, that sounds very similar to the advice that my mom used to give me, and she's in spirit. Things like that. So again, it's not like you're saying, hey, I'm a medium, I'm going to give you a reading. No. It's these indirect ways, because spirit's very smart, right? They'll kind of do whatever they can do to get the message across. So they are very clever at kind of putting together these elaborate things to get that message through. Hi, Zola. And I think that is beautiful when that happens. I think it is so impactful and such a wonderful way to see how the spirit world works, right? I even think another thing that I've personally experienced is I've found that, being aware with that mediumistic connection, I'll have somebody that maybe had a significant loss in their life, and I find that even just being in their presence, so like by them being with me, they almost feel this comfort and this, it's like they feel the energy of their loved one by just being in somebody's presence that has an open awareness to that connection, if that makes sense. So it can be, you don't even have to say anything, right? There can be so many impactful ways that this comes through. And I think that's awesome and needed. The world needs it. The world, and I think that's the other, like, there's no competition, right? One teacher that used to say to me was, she was like, there's enough dead people for everyone to go around, right? Like, there's no competition here. I think everybody should be unique. Everybody should kind of express this in the way that feels right to them. But also, something to keep in mind too is think of all the different people that are in the world, right? They have so many different personalities. Do we get along with all the people in the world? No, of course not. And it's the same thing as the spirit world. So not every medium is going to maybe click with particular people in the spirit world. And that's why we need other types of mediums with different types of personalities and backgrounds to maybe be the one for them, if that makes sense, right? So there's enough to go around. And I never would want someone to be discouraged by like, oh, I feel like, I don't know, there's so many now, like so many people are doing mediumship. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the spirit world needs it. They need as many people as they can get. And here's the other thing to keep in mind. Yes, I do believe that more people are interested in mediumship now. I do seem to find more and more, professional mediums kind of popping up, right? But I kind of want to ask you this, right? I don't know how many of those mediums are really fully willing to put it all out there, if that makes sense. So to take a real risk and kind of put themselves completely out there for mediumship. Some people are, and it's awesome, but not a lot of people are. For, human reasons, and they're understandable reasons, but the spirit world needs people that are willing to just put it all out there, for their work, right? So that's the other thing. Hi, Shira. Yay, I'm going to see you later. Shira's going to be in our class. So it's a good thing to think about, because the spirit world, they're trying here, and I do think it is catching on, but I think people will sometimes want to be more in their comfort zone, or not necessarily be put out in this bigger way. And again, it's not that that's bad. I think there's a balance, but what I'm saying is that I think that's also why there needs to be more, right? Because we do need that mix. We need a mix, and we need a lot. So I would just also say that. And then the next really big point I want to make is that it's healing for you. It can be one of the most life-changing, unbelievable journeys that you'll ever experience. And I'm even just saying that personally for me. It completely transformed my entire life. It really did. I had no idea. I was not prepared at all for this, unfoldment for me. But I'm so grateful for it every single day. I really am. And I think the other thing about it is that, I could go on and on about how grateful I am for this, but a few of the things that I will say is that, I was already spiritual when I kind of opened up to this world, but it just took that to such a beyond level that I can't even really describe. And it has also just made me so much more aware of all the incredible connections that exist in my everyday, in my relationships, in basically everything that I do, right? I'm able to see the divine connection in all that I do as a person here on this planet. Hi! So, what a gift, right? It's given me even more stability and strength in a lot of ways as well, because I'm able to see a bigger picture behind basically every situation I encounter in my life. I'm able to see even the good in even the worst situations in my life. And not only that, I'm never alone, and I'm very aware that I'm never alone. And I'm also able to, it's really helped me personally, also just with my own losses of loved ones, right? Because it just gave me a lot of peace after having this whole understanding of what's really going on here, right? That they're okay, they're around. I can connect with them, I can sense them, I can be with them. Not always the easiest thing, but I know that they're okay. I know that they're there, right? And again, a huge gift to have. So even if it's literally just because you've maybe had a really challenging loss in your life, or maybe more than one, right? And you almost want to just find some comfort in that, or you want to just explore maybe what it's like for their experience right now, by all means, go for it, because that's totally fine to do it just for you in that way. You don't have to be a vehicle of service by exploring this work. I think that's the other thing. And again, I will never say I'm in service of spirit. To me, this is a mutual and even relationship, okay? So it's okay if, let's say, you really feel that you have this connection, it feels really strong, it feels really exciting, but you don't really want to necessarily use it for other people. in any kind of open way, that's fine. I think that's the other thing, is that people worry that they're going to like offend the spirit world or whatever, right? By maybe just deciding it's not for them, or, you know, they have something else that they want to do. They don't care, you know? I mean, because you got to realize, like, they know that you're a human being. They know that you have many things in your life and different decisions that you have to make. And that's okay. They will work with you regardless, in whatever capacity that needs to be for you, and whatever works best and makes the most sense for you. And I think this is the other thing to keep in mind, is that, okay, you know, maybe you do it and you're like, you know, that was really interesting for me personally, but at this time in my life, I'm feeling much more focused on X, Y, and Z. Fine. And then let's say something happens even 10 years later, and it just completely shifts what you want to do. And you're like, you know what? I really want to dive into mediumship again in maybe a more focused way. They'll be there with bells on, right? They don't have time in the way that we do. They don't care. They'll hang out forever, right? They're not sitting there, you know, with their clocks like, all right, you know, hurry up, figure it out. You know, I think they will encourage us, you know, they'll nudge us along, but they understand timing. Like, they get that we need to maybe have our own process. But I think the one thing that I'm just trying to say here is that even if you try it, it's working, and then you decide you need to take a break, it's not going to go away. It's always there. It's like riding a bike, okay? Maybe when you start, hi, Emma. Maybe when you start out, after a long period of time, it might feel like a little rusty, but it's very, especially in the way that I teach, I'm just saying, is it's a system. You just get back into that system, and it will come right back. You know, and yes, practice is great. Consistency is great. I'm not saying that. But I also think that, especially with mediumship, it's important to have a balance. You can't be doing it all the time. It'd be exhausting, right? And also, it's going to limit the impact of when you're actually working, which is a big one there, because we need rest. We need balance. So that was just another thing that I would say. So just realize that, because yes, I do think it's important to have an awareness of our healing process and our own past kind of traumas or whatever, you know, that we're maybe working through when we're developing as a medium to be a good medium. But I also think that there's certain things that end up being healed in the process of developing mediumship, right? So, and also keep in mind, please, like, no one is ever a completely healed person. Like, that does not exist. And I don't think it should exist. And I think it's fine. I just kicked my thing here. So just realize that, like, it's okay if you have some stuff. If anything, this can show you deeper layers of things that you maybe weren't even aware of. That can be really impactful for your own healing process as well. So I'm just saying, Nina, it's funny. The opposite is where I'm at. I'd like to be a channel for spirit, but I feel like spirit doesn't want to use me. At least that's my awareness. Interesting. Yeah. So I would say that that's never, I wouldn't say that's the case, right? That they don't want to, but maybe if you're feeling, I would have to kind of work with you a little more to maybe just feel into that for you. Which we could also actually, I know you're interested in the psychic class. Maybe we can work on that a little bit. But to me, if you're feeling like it's not maybe flowing, or there's certain things like that, it's a few things. Either you haven't maybe established a proper structure with your team. That might be it. You're not having a proper dialogue with your team. And an understanding of, like, this is what I'm expecting from you, and I'm going to expect it. Okay? That's one thought. The other thought is maybe they're waiting for you to discover a different way of working that they're really wanting you to do. That's another possibility. So it could be a few things. So like I said, I would have to kind of like know more, or like talk to you to get more of a feel for it. But I would never say that spirit doesn't want to work with us. No, right? They do, right? But I think for us, it's more like refining our understanding of how we are really working with our teams, right? That's going to really change that format for you and for anyone that kind of does this work. I hope that helps. And then another thing that I was going to say is, well, right, that it can unlock this entire world. Totally get to Nina, work together more. Yeah, because I think one of the biggest things is that we forget that it's a dialogue, right? Because they're people. And we don't always tell them what we want. Because I would never tell my students to just sit there and wait for it. I would not suggest that. Because then we're going to be like this for 5 hours. I mean, we may get a few things, but we want to be more active in our pursuit of receiving from our teams. And being the director, right? Because it's teamwork. So that's what I would just say about that. And then, so I was just saying, right, like you could unlock this whole world that you didn't even know was there, which I know I just touched on a little bit before. And I think one of the things that I wanted to add on to that is, let's say you've never done this before. Do it anyway. And let's just say you're just curious, or you're drawn to it, or you just feel, a pull. That's enough reason to do it. You don't have to have a background of seeing dead people like when I was a child and giving people messages without even realizing. Like, you don't need to have any of that background at all to, first of all, to be a medium and to benefit from this course or from learning mediumship, right? Because I'll tell you, even with my own personal story, right? Like, I do believe I was born this way, but I wasn't one of those people that had those experiences of like, I was talking to dead people like as a child and I was seeing full body apparitions, and I didn't, right? Like, I didn't see things that way. I do think I had some spiritual experiences now that I understand what was going on, but it wasn't like that. And I had no idea that I could do this when it started for me. I was completely just like, I don't think I'm a medium. Like, I don't think I can do this at all. Like, I've never, because for me, I just had premonition dreams. That was it. I was having premonition dreams and I just was like, well, that's weird, and I had some other things going on, but I was like, I don't know. And I had never done a reading, psychic or otherwise, while I was awake. So I was like, I really don't think I can do this, even though people were telling me, oh, you're a medium. And so when I did my first contact, I was floored, I was like, how is this even working? I was completely shocked. So I just want people to know, even if you've never done this before, you have no idea what you're doing or whatever, that's how you feel, do it anyway. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I think mediumship comes to people when they're ready for it. I think it comes to people when they are best aligned to be open to it. And I think that was very much the case for me because, looking back, if I was open to being a medium, when I was like an alcoholic, I don't think it would have been very helpful for pretty much anyone. I don't think it would have been helpful, period. So it makes sense that I didn't have that awareness until later, until I was 2 years sober, right? So that's just another point I wanted to make. There's no experience that's required. There's no background that's required. I have a student, this awesome student that just started mentoring with me. Zero background, zero experience, nothing. And she's doing an amazing job. Doing all these readings, doing all these contacts. She didn't have to have any background. So it's just a great example to show you, you don't have to have this unbelievable, sensationalized kind of background story. I unfortunately think that a lot of TV and things like that make it seem that way, right? Because it makes for good television, So I just want to make that really clear, okay? And then I think the last thing that I would say, well, actually there's a few more things. The other thing I would say is even, so it basically, if anything, if you benefit from anything at all from doing this and you do nothing else, it's going to make you more aware of your spirit team and the guidance that they're giving you, the presence that they're giving you. It's going to give you a lot more clarity as to how you're receiving information from your team And this does not have to be even loved ones, right? So, because I do work with people's spirit teams when I teach, and that can be people that you've never met that are in spirit, right? That can be different types of beings and so forth. But refining your mediumistic ability, to me, that is literally learning how to have a very functioning dialogue with other consciousness, right? Whether that's a loved one or a guide, right? So it's going to really refine that skill and allow you to just have a much more refined awareness as to how they're working with you and when they are guiding you. So that's a great benefit as well. And it also helps you connect with your own loved ones more. I think that will always be a more challenging one for most people. I mean, it's hard for me too, right? But overall, I'm pretty good at trusting when I'm feeling my own loved ones, right? And the messages that they're giving me. But it's not all the time, it's not all the time. But it just helps overall with all of that. And then the last thing that I would say is, especially if you're already doing intuitive work of really any kind, this will benefit it. Even if, like I said, even if you never did mediumship and you're kind of like, I don't know, it will benefit your work because, like I said, it's going to help you have dialogue with other beings in a clearer, more concise way. So let's say you're more interested in past lives or Akashic records, channeling, whatever it might be. I think it's all awesome, right? And I think everybody should just do their thing. It's going to help it. It's going to support it. It will give you a system that's going to support it. And you never know. I think that's the other thing that I keep saying here. You never, ever know. You could do it and be like, where has this been my whole life? Right? Like, Reiki, never mind. You know what I mean? Like, you could be so just blown away and you won't know unless you try it. So I think that's my whole list. I could probably keep talking for 10 hours, but I won't do that. This is why reels don't work for me, because I know this is already too long anyway. But I really wanted to kind of go over all those things because I do think that they're really important points to make. And, stuff, like I said, that I don't think are always discussed about mediumship. And there's more. There's so much more. So I do have a class in person in Wappingers Falls, New York. We are starting this Thursday, the 5th at 6 p.m. And I still have some spots available. And if you are interested, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I do have the link in my bio. And also I will be hosting a psychic development workshop on Zoom for people that are not local to me, since that is in high demand right now. So that will also be coming up as well. And I'm going to be sharing those details within this week. So again, if you want to add any other benefits that you feel that you've received from developing your mediumship, or anything at all, any questions that you have, please just drop it in the comments and I'm always happy to address them. And have a wonderful Monday, you guys.